We all know black tax. We're always sending money to relatives, which is empathetic culture of Africa. Then on the other side, we have diaspora money coming in. Every year, I think it's close to 50 B US dollars, almost 54 coming into Africa. What if we have a mechanism to, even if it's 5% of that money coming in, is put into a trust fund for investment?
GuidED podcast. GuidED podcast.
GuidED podcast. GuidED podcast.
GuidED podcast. Hi, I'm Shekila Athman, and this is GuidED. GuidED podcast.
Like and subscribe.
The GuidED podcast is a beneficiary of the Westerwell Startup House Mombasa. Through the Digital Talents program, we've been able to bring this podcast to life, and thank you so much for that. Welcome to the GuidED podcast, where ideas spark action and stories shape the future. I'm your host, Shekila Juma Athman, and in this space, we get to dive deep into the Sustainable Development Goals alongside the African Union's Agenda 2063, one conversation at a time. We get to sit with social entrepreneurs, visionaries, change makers who have turned challenges into opportunities and ideas into impact. So if you're passionate about shaping the world, hit that subscribe button, share this video with someone you think would need to hear it, and let's keep the conversation going. So today, we have a special guest. Our guest is David Ogiga. David is a visionary entrepreneur, ecosystem builder, and the founder of SotaHub. With a deep passion for youth empowerment, economic development, and impact-driven innovation, David has spent years working on and at the intersection of venture capital, the blue economy, social entrepreneurship, and strategic partnerships. David, welcome.
Thank you, Shekila, and for welcoming me to the GuidED podcast. My first time here, so I'm looking forward.
Awesome. So if you had to explain who you are, job titles aside, but through the impact you've been able to make, how would you describe yourself?
Oh, difficult question, especially for the beginning. Anyway, so I think I'm passionate about conservation. That's one. So anything to do with nature, biodiversity, but especially the interconnection with livelihood. Because in my biology class, we were always trained by our lecturers that wildlife conservation is 80% managing of humans, because humans keep changing. The population keep growing. They need new facilities, schools, markets, and in most cases, they're always doing this in wildlife corridors, and then you have human-elephant conflict. So as a wildlife manager, you have to spend a lot of time speaking with the people, and they have to buy in the conservation goals, and then they'll support, and especially if they can see direct benefit. So I'm very passionate about conservation. If you look at my social media, Ivy, it's an elephant. But other than that, of course, I've spent a lot of my time working with young people, and especially now with a conservation background, is now how do we conserve the future of the youthful generation? Because I think they are the innovative group, and they are the present, they are the future. And so what can I do different with these opportunities that we can be able to empower more young people? And that was how we started SotaHub. Yeah.
That's really great, and I'm curious to know, what challenges did you face while building SotaHub, especially the fact that you moved from conservation and you created opportunities now for other people. So what are some of the challenges you encountered throughout that process?
looking at our background, because we began or established SOTAB in Voi Taita, which is the heartbeat of conservation in Kenya. Savo hosts a third of the elephant population in Kenya, etc., etc. So is a very important biodiversity center. And so when we established a center there, it was very deliberate. We were targeting the young people, who majority of them do not have opportunity, especially for education, training, skills. If you look at the indices, you find that Taita Taveta, if you look, let's say, for academic performance, they are always lower rank in terms of performance. If you recall, like what we used to have in the national ranking for KCSE or KCP. But beyond that, you look at economic, water, food security, income levels. So all these are challenges. So for us, our intervention was to create a center where we could be able to train young people, especially on digital skills. And that's how we started working with schools, about 150 schools, and later on to universities. We were giving them equipment, computers, tools, digital, otherwise. And then phase 2 now was, now they have an infrastructure. So now we introduce the business aspect of it. So we were training them how they can be able to ideate and come up with scalable business ideas within the environment. I remember one team of youthful techies we had came up with an elephant sensor that can be able to track. You see, there's human-elephant conflict, especially in corridor in Savo, Kasigawa, and areas like that. And elephants are always moving into the villages. But with this sensor, which is IoT device, it can detect from about 10 kilometers that an elephant is coming this direction. Then it will notify through an SMS, Kenya Wildlife Service, the villagers. It will create like a siren. This siren also warns the villagers to keep out of the route. So this innovation went all the way to the US, Delaware, won award. They got funding from UN Women. They got funding from WWF.
Oh, wow.
And so these were this kind of ideas and innovation. So, but I must say it was, so from there, of course, now we moved into the SMEs field. And then 2 years ago, I think 2.5 years ago, now we moved into Mombasa and focus a lot on the blue economy. The obvious challenges working in Taita was always the talent pool. So remember, it's, and a lot of people keep asking, why Voi? I mean, why can't you set up in Nairobi? Why can't you set up in Mombasa? But for us, we were very deliberate because Sote, which is our name, is a Swahili word for everyone. So inclusion, how do we ensure that no one is left behind? So it's very, very deliberate. So you find that technically when you're looking for skill set, let's say for training, then we had to bring this from Nairobi, especially from Moringa School of Coding. iHub then was the buzz in the country, Nairobi Gearbox, etc. So talent pool was always a challenge. But 2, of course, was always the spending power. So you find fantastic innovations, but now when they go into the market, there are always challenges in terms of ability to buy. Because Voi is not a big market, let's say, compared to Nairobi or Mombasa. So that was another one. And of course, the infrastructure-wise always are things that comes into play. And of course, securing funding. And it's easy, for example, to fundraise when you are in Nairobi, in the big city. There are more corporates established there and stuff. It's not easy to do that in Taita Taveta. But I think through resiliency and adaptability, we were able to survive. Yeah.
That's really great to hear. It's so interesting. I didn't even know that, like how SOTA came to be, like being inclusive of everyone. That's really awesome. So we know that Kenya or Africa in general has a rapidly growing youth population, and youth unemployment is like a big, huge problem that's relevant, and the opportunities are really scarce. So from your experience, what's the systemic gaps exist, and how can young people position themselves for available opportunities?
I think I always say, I mean, for me, business, because that's where I come a lot from. So I'll start with education, then the business. So let me start with education. that our training institutions tend to be a bit more robotic, and not in a bad way, but that a lot of the content is to enable you pass the exam. There are a lot of contexts you see here. You have to cram the concept. A lot of guys, even in social media, you're like, oh, where will I use matrix? Where will I use body mass, etc., etc. And so we have, I don't know whether CBC is the answer, but we have designed our curriculum in a way that meets the 21st century needs and the jobs. The skills that the employers are looking for, they don't get them in most cases from the graduates. That need to change. And TVETs could be an answer, or in a different way, make them more practical, project-based learning, and that the graduates coming out of the universities are as empowered either to start their own enterprise or to be able to fit in, and ability to be employable in a way or not. And sometimes just the softer skills, you see, the team building, ability to work on a project together, the dynamics of innovation and stuff. So I think that we can take away. But then the second thing for me is, business and the environment to create successful entrepreneurs in the country. Government cannot be able to employ everyone. I think they employ less than 2 million in the public sector. It therefore means that the answer is in the private sector. And so if we are able to have more SMEs thriving, the Juakali sector as it is contributes over 80% of the jobs. So what is it that we can be able to do, and so that the Juakali sector and the informal sector and basically the private sector becomes the catalyst for job creation? So if we are able to answer that equation, and then I think Kenya can be able to move far. Yeah.
So many young entrepreneurs believe that they need funding or financing to launch their businesses. What are some practical ways early stage startups can be able to establish themselves or attract investment and sustain their startups without large financial backing?
Yeah, it's such a common question. Everyone is looking for money. Oh, it's the hottest topic. And what I always keep telling startups is, are you working on a solution? Is your product a solution to an existing problem? Because there are millions of, maybe billions of products, but not all products are a solution to something. And so if you are able to work on a product or to come up with a solution that is easing the burden on somebody else, they will buy it. They'll buy it at midnight, they'll buy it within, it won't be an issue. And as you know, it's not easy to get customers, you see. So a lot of budgets, our operational budget is always spent on customer acquisition. But if your product is selling, it means there's a demand for it. You find that maybe the first customer acquisition is you spend money, but the next one will be repeat referrals, and people keep coming and people keep coming. And I think it becomes viral, and you are not struggling to sell anymore. If you are not struggling to sell, you don't even need the VC money. Actually, it's the other way around. The VC will be chasing you, because a lot of VCs are out here and they are looking for what you call bankable or investable businesses. And a lot of them are not. And so we have a huge majority of the would-be startups at the lower level struggling to raise funding, but the VCs are looking at the growth stage. So means business that are already scaling. If they're already scaling, it means they have traction, they have customers and stuff. So it's what we call a PMF, or product market fit. So it means that your product actually fits or answers certain need set. If you are able to hit that, maybe what we call a sweet spot, the VC will come. The challenge we have is that sometimes we are passionate about an idea or a product, and you keep getting feedback from customers that maybe do it this way, but you are not doing it that way. and then you have less customers, you are struggling to get operational budget, also you'll struggle to get the funding, and unfortunately. So I think for me, the biggest advice for me for startups is let your solution or problem
Speak for itself.
yes.
Yes. Definitely. I think we've seen even an example of I'm not sure the what companies, but ChatGPT, ChatGPT, right? When they released their version 4.0, like everything sold out even before the version, and people had to pay for it, and people actually paid for the product. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes it might not sound easy, but it's something that's really doable if you create solutions for the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the current startup business models that have to keep raising money is the business that we have just described here, that really the addressable market is not big enough. And so the VCs have to keep pumping into the money. You need to grow. But you really cannot buy your way into the market. Yeah, at the end of the day. Unfortunate. Yeah.
So we can come to we can talk about the blue economy and how it's an untapped opportunity. So the ocean holds immense economic potential, yet there's still young entrepreneurs who overlook the blue economy. Why should they pay attention to it, and what are some innovative business models that that could work in this space?
I think they are at maybe aside from what we have now. They for jobs. You look at both at the lower end, middle end, and the high end, whether it's in the cruise ships, the ports, and at technical level, including engineers, electricals, lawyers, maritime lawyers, tons of opportunities. And then if you look at, again, the mass market, the fisheries, for example, I mean, Mombasa alone has like 6,000 fishers. Kenya, I think almost up to 80,000 in that sector, fishers, and up to maybe if you look at the tourism part, for example, they're almost close to 1.5 million employed in that sector. And so I think there is no shortage of jobs in the blue sector. What the market needs is the right talent, because I think there's always and sometimes we find cruise ship jobs coming, they're advertising in Mombasa, but we can't get the right skill set, and so those jobs remain unfulfilled. So I think colleges like Bandari College and Exton, etc., can definitely be able to fill in the gap. But there are lots of opportunities. If you look, for example, in aquaculture, so Kenya's national fish consumption is about 500,000 metric ton annually. We only produce 170,000 to 200,000. So what that means is the 300K is brought in from China and other countries, Norway, Tanzania, etc. But if you're an entrepreneur, this is a business opportunity, the aquaculture, the mariculture. So it means we have nearly 3/4 of fish that we have to import. Why can't you produce that locally? So I think those are the opportunities. Sectors, for example, the seaweed. Seaweed now is useful for medicinal. You see the ladies for the soaps, detergents, perfumes, business, etc. I think we only produce less than 1,000 ton. Tanzania here is producing 17 times. And again, that's an opportunity for any entrepreneur to venture in. In Kwale, I think we have Kibuyuni women that are already doing a lot of value addition in the seaweed. So I think there are a lot of opportunities in the blue economy. Where I see is opportunity to scale it. For example, how can we leverage technology, AI, and the rest, big data? And why? Because if you look historically and you see the trend, a lot of fish farmers in Lake Victoria, the aquaculturists. We've seen a lot of reports on, they wake up in the morning, they find 50,000 fish dead or 100,000 fish dead. Why? Because water quality changed and oxygen and things like that. Now, if you have a technology around it, it's easy to predict and to prevent. So I think use of technology. But Kenya has not also been able to exploit areas, for example, in renewable energy sector, the tidal energy, offshore winds. These are potential areas that could be tapped, including desalination, that counties or cities within the coastal cities. Sometimes it's a shame that households lack water and you have ocean. Why? What else do you want from God? You see, it's already a natural resource. Simply desalinate it and run it through the taps, whether for industrial use or domestic use. So I think those are opportunities that have been left untapped, whether offshore wind energy. Again, these are areas that I think still there's a lot of potential for job, because anytime you unlock these subsectors, then jobs are created and income are created.
Yeah. And then more and more people get to be aware about these
Absolutely.
opportunities. Yeah. Definitely. And now coming into the aspect of social entrepreneurship, I think we had this conversation before we started recording.
Yeah.
There's often a debate between making money and solving or doing good to the community.
Yeah.
How can businesses in the blue economy or even social entrepreneurs balance profitability while ensuring that there's environmental and social responsibility?
Mhm. I think I told you already.
Yeah.
My strongest view always is make the money first.
Make the money first.
And it also flows from what I talked before, that where the rubber meets the road, I mean, at the end of the day, the business needs to make profits.
Yeah.
And so it means that there is a need. You are solving somebody's problem. People can be able to come and buy whatever product or service you're making. Then the other layers, that's the first layer for me. Yeah, must make a business sense. Now, the second layer is you build sustainability around it. So you look at, for example, how are you doing procurement? How can we green it? Let's say you are looking.
Let's take a break to give a special shout out to the incredible team here at Studio Bella for making this quality access and ensuring top tier quality platform. And I'm immersive listening and that experience.
How packaging materials, instead of using plastic, maybe you use recyclable material. If you are moving goods from port to city or etc. to Nairobi, how can you be able to use maybe better logistic? Now we have solar powered fridge, coolers, especially if you're dealing in imperishables. Those are possibilities. If you're using a lot of tuk-tuk or boda, for instance, now we have electric versions, you see. So you can slowly green. If you are using water, are you recycling water? Are you sorting your waste so that some of it can also be sold to recyclers? So this becomes integral part of how you identify your business to be. Yeah, but that should not be the business. The business is somewhere, and now you build the sustainability around it. If you don't do that, then you find you'll be spending a lot of your time writing grant proposals because you are using the tag social entrepreneurship, and I mean, not paying much attention to the business itself. Yeah.
Which is an important aspect, I think. Even all those decisions you're making as business, also you have to make them at a personal level to be able to adapt them also as well. We'll move on to the power of partnerships in driving economic growth. So you've worked with various organizations and stakeholders, even with the government. How important do you think is partnerships in scaling impact and driving employment creation? What advice would you give young entrepreneurs who are seeking opportunities or meaningful collaborations?
I think I'll say two things, maybe three. One is collaboration is very key. Why collaborations is, and this is also the motivation why at SotaHub we host the Blue Economy Summit, which is usually in October, November. They are about every year. This year we'll host it in Pride in Paradise, 24, 26 September. So I'm inviting your audience. Please come, show us support. But it is a gathering of academic scientists, government, private sectors, so the financial institutions, startups, SMEs, the donor community, and any stakeholder in the blue economy space. We come to discuss what are the trends, what are the innovations available, what are the new models, how can we succeed, how can we fundraise, and general, how do we plan blue economy better. So I think, because I saw last year we ran one of the activities, so there are a lot of panel discussions, but we also have deal rooms where some of our startups are able to pitch to investors. And we've seen a very good traction. For example, some of the startups that pitched last year, this year we were making the report and we realized that collectively they made close to $4 million US. And this is debt and equity funding. Yeah, and this is something really that we are absolutely proud of, and it's thanks to collaboration. And the other aspect of collaboration is there are certain things that you cannot do isolated as a hub, as an enterprise. I remember at my previous life, I was the chairman of all the network of hubs in Kenya, and we worked so hard to put in what we call startup law, which went through the parliament. Unfortunately, it was time bad with the election. So now I understand there's a new version that's running. But that startup law is meant to unlock opportunities for a lot of our businesses, avail funding, better markets, maybe on the regulatory, because they struggle a lot with the Kenya Revenue Authority. Do not really care whether you are 2 months or 20 years. You'll pay the same rate. And this is quite inhibitive. So that's one. The second, and why I am a big champion of partnerships, is we know, and our businesses, our startups are struggling with funding. So sometimes it's easy to forget. I mean, Kenya comparatively raises more money, let's say, than other countries. I think last year, for example, we attracted around 340 million US. And I would say that for every $3 million that came into Africa, one was coming to Kenya. So it shows that how strong that we've been in that sector. But if you investigate, you'll find that this funding is going to legacy or bigger startups. Already, I don't want to name names, but they are known. They are already big businesses scaled up that are not actually struggling with the funding. And now you can also get the picture that I told you in the very beginning, that if you have discovered your product market fits, funding will be running after you and not the other way around. And so my solution for this, and almost 90% of this funding is from US, EU, and other countries outside Africa. The challenge I'm telling myself and others is, how can we trigger local funding? How do we catalyze local angel groups? We have high net worth individuals that can invest in our startups. And so what mechanism need to be put in place? And so that, because a lot of times they view startups as risky, you see, and they rather put money in matatu business or real estate, you see. But in the US, the rich people are putting money in startups, and they are getting 20x, 30x return. So I think there's a lot of education that need also to happen, so that we can be able to get more investments here. Yes, so I think on the point of funding, we all know black tax. We're always sending money to relative, which is empathetic culture of Africa. Then on the other side, we have diaspora money coming in. Every year, I think it's close to 50 B US dollars, almost 54 coming into Africa. Well, it's diaspora money coming in. It's maybe for building, it's for buying this, buying that, it's for consumption. I've just been thinking, what if we have a mechanism to, even if it's 5% of that money coming in is put into a trust fund for investment. So it must be a fund that is trustable, worthy, and already we understand this works better. Because you tell me that if, let's say, you had sent somebody 100 shillings, somebody tells you, okay, you can send it, but this channel we are using will return 10 bob. And this will keep accumulating. In 5 years, you know how much that can build. Because the person you are sending this money will always need money somehow. But now you have a security and insurance for the future that you can keep helping them. But also you, because situations really change quite a lot. You can lose your job, business can be bad. You have a saving, or you're already investing a business. So I just thought that if we can be able to work a mechanism of tapping that diaspora money. Why? Because 10% of the remittance is almost 6 billion, 5.4 billion US dollars. That was the same as amount of funding we got in 2022. So the whole of Africa. So it means that we could do away even with that foreign funding and just focus on Africans and other countries, and we be self-sufficient. You see? And so I think we have the resources. I think it's to try and find a mechanism. And cities like Mombasa is always viewed as a place of charity. We have strong foundation of families that give. You see, during COVID, I think this was an area that actually Mombasa led the way. There was a lot of giving to less fortunate. And so it could be possible to turn this around and create opportunity to invest in startups and business. And I think that for me is more sustainable.
Yeah, definitely. That's actually an interesting perspective I've never thought about. That's actually a business idea.
There you go.
Yeah. So with the automation and AI that you've previously mentioned, rapidly changing industries and the solutions that people have, what are top 3 skills you think young people should have to remain competitive in the job market?
I think one is people skills. Yeah, just know how to. I think for me, sometimes is a lot in the little things. I think for me is what, if you can't take care of the little things, I can't trust you with the bigger things, because bigger things are made of smaller things. And so people skills, how you relate to others, to commitments. You see, if you say you'll bring this proposal, or by this date, do it by that date. If you say let's meet at 4, let's not meet at 5. There's nothing like African time. African time for those who've made the wealth. You haven't. Yeah, so I think that's the little thing. So people skill is important. But then beyond this, now you need the technical bit, because if you are an engineer in whatever sector tech it is, then you need to be good in the job. But I think it's that human skill that will get you the next level. And lastly, of course, is don't live in an island. Network, know people, and try to also help others, because a lot of times is the help that you give elsewhere is usually what comes back. When you are available, people start to take notice. So available in a good way, yeah, not in that you are being misused. So you must be very that's keep appreciate what you eat. So I think for me, it's the core skills, whatever of you are like, as I say, you're too great. Let's police. Yeah. Top privilege then for us.
you get ways.
Oh, so you as a previous woman chase at the smurat. What are some needed steps our listeners can be it takes to create just as we previously mentioned, change starts with the small actions that we take. So what are some immediate steps our listeners can take to create job opportunities or even promote economic equality in their communities?
I think I will categorize into things we can do at individual level and then things we need to do at government level. The two need to meet somewhere. Otherwise it will hang in balance. At individual level, I think is the software. The software to do things. It's a mindset to do things, to be inquisitive, to be better in your tomorrow should be better than what you did today. Continual improvement, the resiliency. I think we talked quite a bit of it, and I was telling you, if you are able to go past your 5th birthday in a business, then you shouldn't close, unless it's a natural calamity that sometimes insurance should be able to take care of. yeah. So to keep testing the limits, because when you are this kind of person, then it means you will see opportunities where others are seeing problems. You'll see the opportunities. And the software bit also includes, which is a mindset, of course, is embrace of failure. Failure just tells you of another way to do it. And so when you get a chance to do it in differently, then you know how you go about it. And I think a lot of times in our context, people hide failures, especially business. We hide a lot. But I think we should celebrate and learn from them, because that's actually in fact, in places like the US and others, the VCs and funders trust those who have failed before. Yeah. So I think it's something that we can be able to embrace. So that's one. Then on the government side is now, because we are in the blue economy space, there are things that we have to build. One of them is the infrastructure bit. Because this is part of the environment, supporting ecosystem for business to thrive, whether it's landing sites for the fish, whether it's good road network, whether it's power. You see, I'm happy that the electricity is 90% from renewable source, the geothermal, etc. But still is not accessible to majority. It's also expensive, you see. And when we want to invest in solar panels, it's double expensive, especially we are not doing a lot of local production of the panels and accessories, so you have to import this. So, so on one end, we have an ambition to be green. And when we try to bring the solar, you tax 25% import duty, 16% VAT, 3%, I don't know what other is there. And so, yeah, so it's just like we are our own enemies in a way or another. So I think that we cannot innovate around that. Yeah, sometimes we overblow innovation. I mean, something just needs to be done. I need to turn the water, the tap, then water needs to come out. I need to switch on the I need to switch on the switch and power is there. I mean, I don't need any innovation. So basic infrastructure and services. Then the last one is the planning bit. For example, in the blue economy, I think I'm happy that there's already a discussion and a process on getting a marine special plan, because marine special plan now will help us to know where are the blue economy resources. If it is seaweed, which is the best county to do seaweed, I think Kwale stands out. If it is, for example, mariculture, shrimp farming, crab farming, which is the best place, maybe in Lamu. kiunga, and etc. If it is aquaculture, nowadays we even have, you can do marine tilapia. You see, tilapia is freshwater. But now through Chem-Free, the research, you can be able to do saltwater tilapia. And there's a huge demand. I think I told you before that we have almost 3/4 of the fish we consume, we are importing. And so those are, that will speak to that topic. And so if we need to conclude on the marine spatial planning, once you do that, then there is the next step is what we call blue accounting. So blue accounting now attaches a commercial value to each of these resources. So we know if we are exploiting, for example, carbon market, what is in it for economic of the mwananchi and for the government, etc. So in totality, if you're able to balance both the human development side and then on the spatial planning side, including on the geolocal politics, the transboundary, because sometimes a lot of the water bodies are interrelated. There's always fishermen in Lake Victoria being harassed by Uganda soldiers, etc., etc. So those are political situations that also needs to be fixed. Then I think we'll be having a right environment for success.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This ecosystem just needs a lot of collaboration and just working together and creating opportunities wholeheartedly and not gatekeeping also information.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're almost coming to the end, and we have a challenge here at GuidED Podcast where it's called Pass the Torch. So who do you think, or who's one change maker you think should be hosted here at GuidED Podcast?
Oh, within Kenya or
You can mention, yeah, Mombasa, Kenya.
wow, that's on the torch. Whatever sector.
Yes.
He's not here, but I will wish this guy known as Jeremy Riro, who is a financial guru.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good friend, and he helps businesses in merger and acquisitions. He's kind of like a transaction advisor.
Yeah.
And because he's in that space that many startups are fighting in, I think it will be nice to host him. Yeah, so Jeremy Rino, can I say another?
Yes, you can.
Savio Wambugu is also a good friend. He's now the chairman of Association of Country Innovation Hubs. Well, I was the first chair, and now he's like the third chair. But I think his passion for rural innovations, I think puts him in a very good level. So I think those two.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I guess we'll get to host them.
Yeah.
Whenever they'll be available. So a fun question to end the conversation. If you had to start a completely new venture tomorrow, something totally outside your current work, what would you explore?
I think I'll build a beach hotel. You know.
How different would your beach hotel be? Because they're all
So
existing.
I failed in it.
You did.
I was before building Sothab.
Yes.
I was kind of helping manage a lodge.
Yes.
But it was in Savo.
Yeah.
I think I made a lot of mistakes. So I think it will succeed. Now I know what I need not to do. I think beach is interesting for me because of the passion for ocean and the tourism. I think tourism now is contributing like 5% to GDP.
Yeah.
It can do better. It can do more. Kenya can be able to attract more. But
True.
I just feel that I'll be hosting guests. I can also be surfing. Like I'm having a bit of fun. So it's not something that I need to be in a far remote island.
Definitely. Oh my God, that's really awesome. This has been such an insightful conversation. I got to learn a lot. Thank you so much, David. Thank you for sharing your journey and wisdom with us. Before we wrap up, where can our listeners connect with you and support the work that you do?
Yes, so we are located in Nyali here, in Moin Drive, Bella Rosa House. We are next to the police, so that means we are secure. No worry, don't have to worry about your pockets.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment down below and share this video with someone you think needs to hear it. Let's continue learning, growing, and making a difference together. Until next time, stay guided.
Thank you.